Welcome. Let us discuss the different methods of English language teaching. This slideshow includes three methods, namely grammar translation method, direct method, and audio-lingual method. Grammar translation method is also known as the classical method because it is the oldest of methods which was used to teach classical languages like Sanskrit, Greek, Latin, Persian, etc. The originator of this method was a German scholar called J.V. Frick. Under this method, the meaning of English words, phrases and sentences is taught by means of word-for-word translation into the mother tongue. The structure of the foreign language is best learned when compared and contrasted with that of the mother tongue. The teacher reads a sentence in L2 and translates it word by word into L1 of the learners. The textbook will provide graded learning materials. Word is the teaching unit and not the sentence. Here, formal grammar is taught and not functional grammar. Let us now discuss the merits and demerits of grammar translation method. I first move on to the merits of the method. This method ensures the clear understanding of word meanings and language structures. It enhances the vocabulary of the learner by saving time. This can be effectively utilized in a crowded classroom. This method does not require much learning aids and teaching aids. Moreover, it creates an interest in the art of translation. And now, let us see what are the disadvantages. This method gives less importance to the speaking skills of the learner. And it's not easy to keep all listeners active always. They neglect prosodic features such as pronunciation, stress, intonation, etc. And in fact, the real spirit and cultural elements of a language are damaged. This method is dominated by the use of mother tongue. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of grammar translation method. Let us now see what is meant by the direct method of ELT. Language teachers of the 19th century felt for several reasons that the old GT method was inadequate to develop communicative ability in the learners. Hence, as a revolt against GT method, the direct method evolved in France in 1901. These reformers thought that L2 or the target language can be taught without the help of L1, that is the mother tongue. Direct method is a method of teaching a foreign language, especially a modern language, through conversation, discussion, and reading in the language itself without the use of pupil's language, without translation, and without the study of the formal grammar. So what is given emphasis is the direct association of experience and expression. Sentence is taken as the unit of expression and translation of any sort is totally banished. Let us now move on to the main principles of direct method. It gives importance to the direct link between experience and expression. As I told you earlier, sentence is taken as the basic unit of expression and their focus is on connected speech and not on disconnected words. Teaching meanings of words and phrases by means of objects or by natural contexts. Systematic teaching of phonetics. inculcating vocabulary and structure of the language to a large extent by questions and answers. These are the major principles of direct method. The major procedures of teaching. The teacher shows a picture relating to the lesson in the textbook and asks the class to read the passage. The teacher identifies the words and phrases in the passage which the students find difficult to understand and removes the difficulties using various strategies like explanation. Then, teacher checks to what extent the students have comprehended the passage by asking simple questions. Some oral exercises are given in the class. Practice and drill in pronunciation, answering questions, etc. are also given. Let us discuss the merits of direct method. It emphasizes oral, speech practice, stress, right pronunciation, etc. It makes direct connection between thought and expression. It makes learning easy and pleasant. It can help to cover more content in less time. It is more suitable to teach idioms. It's physiologically sound as the procedure is from concrete to abstract and from particular to general. Let's now move on to the demerits of direct method. There will be a lack of competent teachers to teach in this method. Course books may not be available as required. It gives overemphasis to oral work. It does not give the required emphasis for gradation of materials. It is expensive and hard with respect to teaching aids. It is less effective for average or below average students. Now we are moving on to the third method of ELT. It is audio-lingual method. Audio-lingual method was developed in America in 1960s and 1970s. The roots of the audio-lingual method can be traced back to the language teaching program devised in America during the Second World War. Its focus was on the everyday discourse, particularly the skills of listening and speaking in the target language. William Moulton of Princeton University enumerated 5 slogans which form the basis of audiolingual method. The first one, language is speech, not writing. Second, language is a set of habits. Third, teach the language, not about the language. 4. Language is what native speakers say, not what someone thinks they ought to say. 5. Languages are different. These slogans are influenced by behaviorist psychology and structural linguists. Let us see what are the major features of audiolingual method. Audiolingual method treated each language skill separately: listening, speaking, reading and writing. The skills of writing and reading are not neglected, but the focus throughout remained on listening and speaking. The language lab was introduced as an important teaching aid. It gives learners an opportunity to mimic a model and memorize language patterns. Like the direct method, the audiolingual method also tried to avoid the use of mother tongue. Dialogues were the main features of audiolingual method. Pattern drills were an essential part of this method and used as an important technique of language teaching and learning. Let's now listen to the techniques of audiolingual method or oral method. Language was introduced through dialogues which contained common structures and useful vocabulary used in everyday communication. The dialogues were memorized line by line. The learners mimicked the teachers or the tape recorder, listening to all the features of the spoken target language. A native speaker like pronunciation is important in presenting the model. Reading and writing are introduced in the next stage, and there is less of burden in this method.